program or that. In short, the people holding the uniformly painted signs have their hands out. Washington is spending away our kids' future, and they still want more. But the people holding the homemade signs are the ones paying the bills. If the mainstream media weren't busy insinuating that they're all racists and haters, they would have to acknowledge this fact. So the media keeps the coverage based on these patriots' motives. But what these good, honest Americans are asking for isn't ugly and dangerous. It's right there on their signs and their flags and their faces, young and old, black and white. They want their country back. I mentioned to the crowd that this year, the tax day that matters isn't April 15th, but April 9th. That's the day the average American worker finally earns enough to pay his or her federal and state taxes, which means that the average American spends the first 99 days of the year working for the government. The crowd's roar of response tells me that these Americans are feeling overtaxed by Washington. But I can tell that it isn't just high taxes that have brought these Americans here. Something bigger is going on. Something much bigger. My family and I have spent a lot of the past year traveling the country. I visited dozens of cities in more than half of the 50 states on a tour for my first book, Going Rogue, helping out candidates running for office and promoting pro-American causes. My visit to Boston was the next to last stop of the Tea Party Express in a 44-city 3-week tour. I was there when the tour began in the desert sands of Searchlight, Nevada, when more than 10,000 citizens turned out to take back their government. And I was there in Boston for one last rally before the tour ended on tax day in, where else when the issue is taking back our government, Washington, D.C. Along the way, I've talked to literally thousands of Americans from all across the country. I met with folks in their living rooms, at their businesses, and at boisterous country music jam and rallies. What's more, hundreds of people have sent me books, magazine articles, snippets of speeches, and their own comments with different takes on America. What I've learned from all this traveling and meeting and talking and reading is this. The spark of patriotic indignation that inspired the Americans who fought for our freedom and independence has been ignited once again. Americans are reawakening to the ideas, the principles, the habits of the heart, and disciplines of the mind that made America great. This isn't a political awakening. It's an American awakening. It's coming from real people, not politicos or inside the Beltway types. These are the Americans who grow our food, teach our children, run our small businesses, help out those less fortunate, and fight our wars. They've seen what is happening in America, so they've decided to get involved. They feel like they're losing something good and fundamental about their country, so they've decided to take it back because they love this country and are proud to be Americans. One of my first clues to how real and how consequential this awakening is came from my own independent-minded family. My Uncle Ron and Aunt Kate are business people in Washington State. They're not particularly political. They'd never been intimately involved with any party or movement. So when I found out that they had attended Tea Party meetings in the very, very early stages of this people's movement, I knew it was time to ask, who are these participants? And I realized that the Tea Partiers are my Uncle Ron and Aunt Kate, normal Americans who haven't necessarily been involved in national politics before, but are turned on to this movement because they love America and they don't like what they see happening to her. They're so concerned about the path we're on that they've decided to get involved. And believe me, they may not have done this 2 years ago, but they're doing it today. Just like at the rally in Boston, taxing and spending are the most frequent subjects of Tea Partiers' signs and speeches. But Americans are coming to understand that the irresponsible fiscal path we're on is just a symptom of a more serious disease. People approach me all the time to tell me they're worried that we're losing what's best about our country. President Obama and the current Washington crowd have promised us a fundamental transformation of America. The left seems to think that there's something wrong with America, not something wrong with our policies.